Hello y'all and welcome back. In this module we are doing utilitarianism. At the end of the last module, the last video, I alluded to a unit on relativism. We will get to that, but rather than explore the overarching skepticism vis-a-vis a universal ethics that is relativism, I want to look at a few of these universal ethical theories first before we turn to a generalized critique of them. So we'll start, if that's all right, with utilitarianism. Utilitarianism I am going to frame or define as the view that right and wrong are to be understood in terms of the maximization of pleasure, benefit, or utility. Right and wrong are to be understood in terms of the maximization of pleasure, benefit, or utility. A couple notes on that definition. First, this is a way you understand right and wrong. And I find that people get this wrong about ethics generally. They see different ethical theories as different views about which individual actions are right or wrong. So that one ethical theory is going to hold you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z, and the other one's going to hold that you should do it, or at least that it's okay. But in reality, that's not quite true. It may be that different ethical theories are going to cash out in such a way that an action that's wrong on one view is right on another view. But those cases are very rare. By and large, not just ethical theories, but people's ethical views generally, whether theoretically informed or not, are going to be in substantial agreement about which things are right and wrong. People generally are agreed it's wrong to cheat on your partner. It's right to help those in need. It's right to tell the truth, etc., etc. The disagreement is going to come at a more fundamental level, or if you will, at a higher level of abstraction or analysis, where you say when you really need to understand these concepts, what do you reach for? What do you go to? And in the initial video for this course, I tied that question to the other question of where do these concepts come from, like originally. So that's the focus here and going forward is how do you understand right and wrong? And utilitarianism says you understand these concepts fundamentally in terms of pleasure, benefit, or utility. Now, those three words are going to capture three very different takes or spins on utilitarianism, but they're all, I think, equally valid. Pleasure, I think, is not wrong. It places an Epicurean spin on this view, but the Epicureans are, of course, broadly utilitarian in their ethics. Benefit is a more modern term. It's probably our best shot at, in kind of modern language, understanding what really the utilitarian is trying to get at when they say you've got to do the right thing to maximize benefit. And we would be remiss not to include utility in our definition because, of course, this is the term introduced by the original 19th century utilitarians, Jeremy Bentham and J.S. Mill, as they framed this view in an attempt to give the specificity and exactitude of science and math to ethics, to an ethical theory. So this is what utilitarianism places the focus on. So for utilitarian, in any moral event, you're going to look at results. And here's what I mean by that. So let's take an example of some good deed. Let's say you're in line at the grocery store and the person in front of you is having a hard time because they realize they didn't bring enough money, they don't have a credit card, they don't have enough cash to pay. And so you step in and you pay for their groceries. Okay? So you did the right thing there. How do we understand that? Now, most people, myself included, and I suspect you, the first place we're going to reach, the first tree we're going to bark up here is action type, meaning we're going to say you did the right thing. Why? Because you helped someone in need. You helped a person in need. And we do this just about every time that we analyze a moral event. So we say you did the wrong thing. Why? Because you cheated on your partner. You did the wrong thing because you cheated on that test. You did the right thing because you told the truth in a tough circumstance. Whatever. Action type. So most people reach for action type. Now, the virtue ethicist, whom we will look at in a couple modules, says you can and should go deeper. In reality, what makes that moral event good is not the action type, but the character traits that the action springs from. So you did the right thing because you acted out of compassion or generosity or kindness or selflessness or something like that. So the virtue ethicist says go deeper, and we'll look at that. Immanuel Kant, whom we'll look at next module, and deontologists say you can and should go deeper still, deeper even than character traits, to what Kant is going to call the will, what we might call intention, the principle, what Kant calls the maxim behind your action, which is, again, as he says, even deeper and more fundamental than your character. The point here is that the utilitarian is going to effectively bypass all of that, action type, character, and will, and focus on the results. Were the results good? Did the results benefit the most people or do the greatest good for the greatest number? And for this reason, utilitarianism is often known as consequentialism. And I understand that in the literature, consequentialism, strictly speaking, is different from utilitarianism, but they are effectively, in my mind, the same thing because of the focus they place on results. And I think if you look at the views of prominent utilitarians such as Peter Singer, this is borne out. So the focus is on the result of an action. And I want to make a point here, which I'm going to return to at the end of the module. When I started to read utilitarianism back, as an undergrad in the early zeros, reading Mill, reading Bentham, what they're doing, the way they frame utilitarianism initially, is they say, look at all these morally good things that we see as morally good. You notice something that they all have in common. They all maximize benefit. On the whole, it's going to maximize benefit for you and everyone else if you tell the truth, if you engage in honest and fair dealing, etc., etc., etc. And this struck me as not wrong, but also incredibly boring. Like, yeah, I get it, right? But utilitarianism is actually deeper than this and is low-key more controversial than this, because as you read more, as you understand more, it's not the view that the right thing is going to maximize benefit or utility. Utilitarianism is the view that the right thing is right because it maximizes benefit or utility. And you might say, well, it sounds like you just said the same thing two different ways, but those are two very different views, and the difference is extremely important. So we're going to return to that at the end of the module. Utilitarianism, so construed, has some prominent strengths, and we'll explore those strengths in the next video. Thanks.